Now, there are lots of problems that can occur in the circulatory system. You've all heard of heart attacks before. You probably have heard of high blood pressure before. You might have heard of blood clots before. Hemophilia is another one. There's lots of blood issues and circulatory issues out there. And luckily, there are lots of fixes for the mistakes or problems that we have with our circulatory system. With a heart attack, what that is you've got blood vessels that feed the heart oxygenated blood and nutrients and get rid of wastes from the heart. But if you get a clot or a plug in one of those blood vessels or arteries that are going to your heart won't get the oxygen it needs, and you're going to have a heart attack. And depending upon how the location and how big of a clot that is, it can be deadly. What they will do is they need to get that clot out of there, or they have to put in what's called a stent, and I'll show you a video of what that stent is. And it's just a little piece that stretches out the tubes that are going to your heart to hopefully allow for more blood flow. What they will use is an angiography, and what they're going to be doing is putting an ink into your bloodstream, a special ink that doesn't harm you, and they're going to be able to take pictures or video of the blood traveling through your body, and you get some really neat pictures of it. And they'll be able to find the little spot where there is restricted flow of blood, so they can then put in a stent to press that stuff out and make that tube, your blood vessel, bigger again to allow for blood flow. Your heart needs to increase and decrease its rate depending upon what's going on around your body or what you're doing with your body. And there's some people that can't do that. They're these cells called pacemaker cells. You're born with them and they never die, or they shouldn't die. But for some people, for some reason or another, they don't do their job anymore, and they don't start the electrical signal that tells your heart to beat faster or slower. And what you're going to have to get is called a pacemaker. And what the pacemaker is going to do is they're going to put a little tiny electrode on your heart where those cells are, and it's going to zap your heart to tell it when to beat and how fast to beat. They'll put the battery under your skin, so it'll send that signal to your heart so you can have a regular heartbeat, and that's what you're looking for. The two things that are the biggest contributors to a bad or a unhealthy circulatory system will be what you eat and what you do. What you eat matters. If you are eating foods that are high in fat, if you have high sugar, high cholesterol, those things, high sodium, those things are not good for your circulatory system. They'll increase your blood pressure and put more strain on your heart, which you don't want.
Just feeling good all the time.
The other thing is what you do. If you choose to smoke, if you choose to drink a lot, if you choose to do drugs, if you choose to do those types of things, they can also impact your circulatory system. Those are negative things. They're going to make your heart work harder. They're going to thin your vessels and arteries out, which you don't want. It's just not good. And the other thing with what you do would be exercise. If you choose not to exercise, your heart isn't going to get the workout that it's needing, and it's going to make for a higher blood pressure. So the best way to have a great circulatory system is eat right, don't do bad stuff, and do good stuff, exercise. A couple more problems of the circulatory system would be aneurysms and strokes. An aneurysm is typically where a blood vessel is going to expand out a bit, and sometimes it'll even make a little bit of a bubble. And then a stroke is going to be where the blood vessels going into the brain or around the brain will get clogged or will burst. And those are both extremely dangerous and need to be taken care of, hopefully before that stuff happens. But many times people don't know until it's too late and they have, a stroke or something along those lines. So again, they might put stents in there, they might put blood thinners in there, they might look at your diet to try to fix some of those issues. I bought one of these off of Amazon a long time ago. I've never replaced the battery. It's lasted for the longest time. And what this does is you put your finger in there, you press a button, and it is going to measure my pulse, and it's going to give me a general idea of how much percent oxygen is going through my blood. Typically, you want a percent oxygen in the high 90s. You do not want to be less than that. I'm at 98. We're all right. My heart rate, 66, which is pretty good. So it is extremely important to have the right amount of oxygen going through your body. And that's what this little monitor will do, is it tells you what that amount is. I believe you have the latest iWatch. It'll do the same thing. So yeah, and I think even like the Samsung, one of their latest cell phones has this also built in the back of their phone. So this is measuring the oxygen that's being carried around by my red blood cells throughout my body. And it's a neat little thing. I think it costs no more than, I don't know, maybe it was 10, 15 bucks. So yeah, that's that. And finally, one of the things that has saved many, many lives, especially at schools and sporting events, is going to be an AED machine. Now, an AED machine is an automated external defibrillation machine. What the heck does that mean? Automated, it's going to tell you what it's going to do. It's going to do it all on its own. External, outside. And then defibrillator is going to be something that's going to be monitoring and possibly shocking your heart. So your heart is a little electric currents running, has a little electric currents running through it. And if those currents stop, somebody might want to give that person CPR. They'll give them chest compressions. If they really know CPR, they'll also add breaths to that cycle. The problem is that you can do chest compressions and it might not jumpstart that heart. But what an AED machine will do is send an electrical current through, and it'll restart your heart. And we have had countless examples of people being saved with the AED machine. You're probably used to hearing people rub these two things together and zap somebody and yell clear. Well, that's what this machine does, but it does it all by itself. It's got two sticky pads. They stick to the body, and it'll tell you what to do. It'll tell you to back away. It'll then shock the body. It'll tell you to do chest compressions and whatnot. And that machine has saved countless students' lives just by telling you what to do and sending an electrical current through there. So that is a pretty neat machine that people have access to at all schools and all sporting events in the United States. Okay, so that's the AED machine. So in conclusion, I hope you've learned a little bit about the circulatory system. We know the three different tubes: arteries, blood away, capillaries in between, veins, blood back. We know the parts of blood, the cellular parts: red blood cells moving oxygen, carbon dioxide; white blood cells looking for things that don't belong, bacteria and whatnot; plasma part, that's going to have the water, it's going to have your nutrients in it that your cells need. That's that part. We looked at problems of the circulatory system. We looked at heart attacks, pacemakers, high blood pressure, strokes, aneurysms. There are lots of things out there, and we talked about ways to minimize the chances of getting those things. Eat right, exercise, don't do bad stuff.